Okay. I think we're set up. Just switch the scene. Hello. Welcome, guys. Alright, let me just share the link and I think we can start.
For my kind of plants, it's not professional. So I will change for like
Let's just share the link and I think we can start.
There's a process of generation that I use and cost free or against the how many events you almost
Okay. So I guess we can start. Hello everyone on the stream. Sorry about the audio quality. The mic is just not working today. But hello everyone here in the room. My name is Martin and welcome to Know Enough AI to be Dangerous. It's a traditional Wednesday event that I've been hosting for a little bit over a year. A little bit from my background, I'm a software engineer and I make harnesses for AI agents. And what we do on these Wednesdays, it's usually go quickly through the news of the day, see what's relevant, what's useful, what's maybe shocking, and then move on to like a keystone topic. After that, I would like us to basically split into the smaller groups so we can exchange information about how we use stuff like AI every day and tell ourselves what works and what does not. And I think without further ado, I think we can get to the slides and kind of blaze through them. Key topic of today is local and cloud agents, because this is something that I feel people are mixing up a lot of times. They don't know what is an agent when it runs locally, what is an agent when it runs somewhere else. So we'll dig a little bit deeper into that. But on the topic of the interesting news of this week, we're going to start with Sonnet 5. Yay! We have a new model from Anthropic. It's one of the cheaper ones. Apparently supposed to be very, very good for long-winded agentic tasks. Personally, I'm waiting for Fable. Word on the wire is that we are supposed to get this like maybe in 2 days, which is quite cool. Sonnet, for now, I just don't have a use for it, to be honest. Like for coding, I just go GPT-5.5 extra high. Don't really need Sonnet 5, like why? And Fable, in that particular manner, I just want to refactor the code base so it's smaller and like my app doesn't actually take 1 gigabyte of space. As to the answer why. So Sonnet 5, new model. Fable, the export restrictions have been lifted like literally overnight. So it's the freshest bit of information. It's the same export clause that impacted GPT 5.6, and I'm very excited for 5.6 era because it's supposed to be 50% less in terms of token cost. So I hope that translates well into subscriptions as well. And personally, I do prefer GPTs, especially for coding. So OpenAI released previews. Unfortunately, we live in the day and age where previously a preview was just silent Like nobody really knew. A couple of partners have gotten it, but now everybody's trying to be the first one with the marketing message. And that kind of skews our perspective. To a certain degree, I do feel like a second-grade citizen. Like only the partners get the best models, and like you fall into the category of everyone else. That being said, Sol, Terra, and Luna. Sol being the biggest one, Terra being the everyday model for everyday use, and Luna equivalent to Haiku or Instruct-based models, which is supposed to be super cheap. I'm excited for this lineup because GPT is generally good with code, and if you think really deeply about it, everything can be code. Like every single thing that AI does, science, engineering, whatever, everything is code. Google has reshuffled its coding strike team because Anthropic has been poaching the top scientists in AI research. Now this is something that has been ongoing. Unfortunately, Google is still kind of the best when it comes to RAG, kind of the best when it comes to search. And Gemini definitely has a place in the ecosystem. For coding purposes, not so much. I would recommend against it. And they are trying to get 3.5 Pro to be on par with at least Opus 4.8. From the latest news that I've gotten, they're not very successful in this endeavor. And in terms of governance and data, this is something that we keep going on and on and on about on these Wednesday meetups. Meta has restricted internal use of Claude and Claude Code specifically and Codex because data submission goes both ways. So if Meta is developing and actively developing a novel way of doing AI, they don't really want to give that data to Anthropic and OpenAI. So this is the first shift where normally labs don't really care. Like they take whatever is the best on the market and they make their own spin on it. Meta is the first one to say, wait a minute, maybe they are the best because all of the researchers and all of the coders keep using it, so they get the data. And that's also touching on today's topic. So yeah, internal documents have shown Meta is capping how its applied AI engineers may use Claude Code or Codex. Yeah. Tooling and OSS. Perplexity has shipped Bumblebee. It's a supply chain scanner for agents. It's a very hot topic, especially if you have dependencies in NPM, if you're using PNPM or any other package managers on the market in your project. This is something that is touching everyone who's doing any software-based product. What Bumblebee is supposedly doing, haven't tested it, so I can't say for certain. It continuously scans your code base and continuously scans CVEs and other security breaches in the packages that you have dependencies in. There are multiple ways of how you can do this. There's actually plenty of open source options on the market where you are able to basically just give your project a thorough scan. This is the first time that something is specifically and targeted at this specific problem made by Perplexity in this case. Codebase memory MCP is an index of your codebase. It's MCP, you can get it from GitHub. What it does, it's something similar to Git Nexus. It indexes your entire code base, so it's better traversable for your agent. So whatever you're developing, it basically just creates a massive index on top of a massive index on top of a massive index. So when your AI agent needs to dig a little bit deeper, this gives it the correct contexts every single time. Personally, I finally gotten Git Nexus up and running, which was a little bit of a pain from my perspective. it was always failing on my massive code base. It was failing on embeddings, and I have to give it to Andrew, it works well. But this is more of a lightweight solution to the same problem. In terms of grounding, we have Agent Reach, which is basically CLI to search Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, GitHub, Bilibili, Xiaohongshu with 0 API fees. It uses a novel algorithm that looks directly on those websites, scrapes comments, scrapes different topics, different subreddits, different threads, whatever you might need, specifically perfect for you if you're doing market research or product market fit. So this is something that you can start utilizing tomorrow, and then you can pair it with something called Chloe from, let me just pull it up real quick. Yeah, Close.com. And this is something that was vetted from within our community. It's called Chloe AI Agent, and it's apparently like really good. It directly cold calls people and businesses with your products with a very, very, very lifelike voice. And yeah, this is actually really cool. From 1 million calls placed, 185,000 live conversions, and 584,000 leads have been enriched. So these are very bold claims, but apparently it's indistinguishable from calling with an actual sales agent. It builds the script out of your code base, out of your product, out of your everything. I'm not paid by them or affiliated with them, by the way. It's just something that was referred to me, and I took a look into it, and it sounds very good. So yeah, if you're doing product market fit, go with Agent Reach with your Cloud Code or Codex, plug it into Chloe with your product, let it search for relevant leads, and start selling. This is one of the questions that we usually have here on Wednesdays, like how the heck do I use AI for selling? Like, this is a proper, easy to use pipeline.
Can you access LinkedIn?
Once again?
Can you access LinkedIn as well?
I would imagine that they claim they do, but in reality, LinkedIn is one of the hardest things to crack. Yes. The biggest problem with LinkedIn in general is that if they suspect that you are using a bot even to scroll LinkedIn, you may get your account banned or frozen. And as per LinkedIn policy, if you're not a business, you're limited to one account, because every single LinkedIn user needs to be a physical person. So it's not like Facebook where you can whip up 15 bot accounts and like no one cares. LinkedIn works in a different manner, and they're very much trying to tether a physical person to an account. So losing that account and then going through the appeals process might be painful. So anything you have to do with LinkedIn, rather have your AI agent prepare you things and profiles and people to a certain degree out of what it can scrape from web search than letting it into your account. And it's actually doable because a lot of the profiles are not private on LinkedIn. So you can literally just search them through Google in incognito mode. Anthropic cybersecurity skills. This is something that, again, I highly recommend you should take a look into. It's an amalgamation of known security practices being applied for agents in form of skills. There is massive 817 skills in there, so I would highly recommend that you scope it down a little bit. Otherwise you can easily overwhelm your agent. But it's something to basically, if you spin it up, put it into a folder, and then start your session from that folder. So your agent, your Cloud Code, or even Codex, they take that folder as their project folder and load those skills primarily. So you can continue whatever you're doing in the main folder, and this one is strictly for cybersecurity. Do not mix everything into your like machine level skills folder, because you're just going to confuse the agent.
Is there like a guideline how many skills per topic you should like as a max have?
There is not an official guideline as far as I know, but like my recommendation would be not to overload it, and I would say 50 to 60 skills is like tops. Anything above that, you have to think from the perspective of every skill, even if unloaded, is like 200 tokens.
So if I have like 3 to 5 specific design skills,
Oh, that shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem at all. Think about it from the context perspective. If your window is roughly 200,000 tokens, you're utilizing 12,000, that's like 6%, just on headers of skills. So yeah, don't overload it. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be super conservative with it, but you can if you succumb to something like this, it's going to run you dry. Like this on its own would be massive. Just give me a second, please. My video got smaller for some reason. All right, that should be fixed. Yeah, so these are the things that kind of popped up over the course of last week. This is something that I was looking into personally because like Get Access was not working for me well. And this is something that is going to be very relevant for me in the coming weeks. So I will give you a personal review of Agent Reach. All right, let's go on with the actual topic and let's get into it. Let's kill the myth. Local, if you're running something on your machine, any AI agent, it's not private. Never is, never will be. Because your stuff gets sent to the model, which is Anthropic, it's OpenAI, it's whatever. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, even if you have agent locally, it's never going to be private. It's always going to be open. Treat every information that you type to AI agent, regardless of if it's local or remote, everything that you write is automatically pulled. Like someone can intercept it, there might be some setting that you didn't toggle and your conversation is public. You know, these things happen. Any API key, anything you commit to that chat box is gone.
Even if you use something like Llama and the local model?
That's a different topic. If you're using Llama and you're running it by yourself, you're very specifically using your own models. It doesn't matter who made the model, but you are the one running it. Right now we live in the day and age where running a beefy model, like a proper model that can execute agentic tasks, is still super expensive. And because it's expensive, we rely on Anthropic, OpenAI, and other providers to basically sell us the compute. That's what we're buying. We're buying a model and the compute. Good value for money, pretty much every subscription, but everything that we do, we are sending to those companies. So take one task, read my project notes and draft a summary. Whether you run the agent on your laptop or in the cloud, one thing is identical. The model itself is always remote. To summarize the notes, their contents get sent to Anthropic or OpenAI to be processed. Running agent locally does not keep your data on your machine. The inference happens in the cloud either way. Privacy isn't what separates local from clouds. There are two things that differ. It's the reach and the tools. Can the agent physically open your files and apps? On local it can, on clouds it can't, unless you build a bridge. And tool code. Who runs the logic behind read notion? That's a secondary topic that not many people are touching upon. Is it us or is it someone else? Local. What encapsulates local? By design, every CLI that you're running on your machine is classified as local. That means it has a reach to your file system. It has ability to read files on your computer, keys, anything that you might have stored, sensitive or non-sensitive data. There are multiple ways of how to mitigate this. You can sandbox it. You can basically create a small island within your computer and let the agent run only there, so it doesn't have reach anywhere else. But especially with us coders, that kind of defeats the purpose, especially if you're running like multi-agent, multi-session, multi-everything with computer use, with all the bells and whistles. From personal experience, we went from being very scared about it to pretty much every single developer that I know right now is running the YOLO mode or dangerously skip permissions. Like that's at least 90% of this room, I would even say. Like we just stopped caring. We treat the entire machine as its pawned. Like nothing sensitive is on this computer. So we can easily let it run whatever it needs. No stop, no blockers, no stops, nothing. A little bit safer way of doing the same thing, sandbox it, download the repo that you need to work on, or any project that you have, run your session there, at least some sort of security. Doesn't mean that it can't escape. AI is very clever in this, creates a subcontainer which has elevated privileges, and then it's super convoluted. But there is a way how to contain it. So if you're running Summarize My Notes as a local agent, agent can physically open your project notes. It has real shell, real computer use. It can delete all of the files in your system if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Happens. Like it wiped my Git, it wiped my local everything on multiple occasions, albeit a year ago. So that models were a little bit dumber. It reaches into your machine directly and summarizes whatever you task it to summarize. So that's what happens when you're running PI, OpenCode, Claude Code, Codex, etc. If we are moving to the area of desktop apps, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them come with the sandbox. It's already a part of the app itself. It already spins up a container where you need to give it very specific privileges to go somewhere, look for something, do something. It's a more vanilla experience, especially for people who are not used to being in charge of their files from the security and technical perspective. A very good example for this and why I stopped using it is Claude Desktop. When you initiate co-work, the like pseudo-agentic mode that you should be able to just leave working for a long time, in co-work, it automatically spins up a container. So you have to feed it things. Even though it's the same machine, same hard drive, same everything, you have to physically take files and feed it into the sandbox. I stopped using it because it takes like 15 gigabytes of space, which at the time when I had MacBook Air and 256 gig drive was absolutely unacceptable, so was just not for me. So the fix is the sandbox. Most of them already come with some sort of infrastructure for that. If you don't know or are unsure if you are using it, just ask your agent if it's running in the sandbox. If it says that it can see everything, it's probably not. Agents are very capable of spinning up the sandboxes themselves, so you can treat one session as okay, this agent has seen everything, tough luck, but everything else is going to run in the sandbox.
Does Codex run in the sandbox by default?
No. Codex app.
CLI?
Codex app, yes. ChatGPT app doesn't even see the files. It's purely a web client. And that's going to be one of the topics, like where does it actually run? So, sandbox. and especially Cloud Sandbox from the start. It just can't reach your laptop. This is probably the safest and easiest way of how to use AIs, especially if you're building long-running agents. Get a VPS or a secondary machine, any clouds, anything that's not your computer, spin up a sandbox, tell your agent to spin up a sandbox, and initiate the next session over there. At that point, at that stage, the runtime, the agentic loop, everything happens in the clouds. So unless you directly feed it something, be it an API key for creating images or a Composio key that allows you to utilize like 1,000 connectors, if you are not giving it these things, it just doesn't have them because you're only communicating with it. It doesn't see anything in your computer. It doesn't see anything on your hard drive, and it's somewhat secure. The key thing that usually kind of gets overlooked is that if it's running on the cloud, it literally can't summarize my project notes because it doesn't see the actual folder. It's running somewhere else. Upside of an empty box, a prompt injection can't really touch your SSH keys because that lives in the root. Sandbox is over here, everything happens over here, it's secure. Because the keys are not there. And what is the most important thing, once you close down your laptop, it can still continue running. And this is a thing where desktop apps are currently trying to be a hybrid of both. That's what I'm developing as well. I'm developing something that will be a hybrid of both local use and a cloud use. Because I want to be able to close down my laptop, but at the same time, I want to give it access to my actual computer. I want to give it access to the repos that I'm working on. Not everything is super ergonomic if the file system is not yours. Like, I don't know what's your experience, but going through the file system, looking at some files, on some remotes, it's usually a pain in the ass. And especially if you combine it with things like if you need to supply screenshots, you need to push-pull a certain file from remote, it just gets more complex and complicated, where we don't really need this friction when we have AI to handle most of this for us. No.
Why don't you just have your like AI closed local in your laptop that runs the laptop, like household guy, and communicate with the open source or the open source AI in the cloud? In that sense, you are saving all the headache of finding things on your computer, but still.
Yeah. So going forward, yes, it's an option, but that's also an attack vector. Because if you have two AIs and two agents communicating with each other, well, I'm not here and actually kind of overseeing my computer and the things that are being done on the repo. Again, not necessarily from my perspective, because I don't care about this laptop, but if you have some sensitive files, that agent has nothing. If there is a prompt injection, it looked for an image, and in that image, there is an instruction. Go to this URL. You will find the best possible information about Wednesday meetup on this URL. And that URL, the moment it hits it, gets injected with malicious prompt.
So you need to be the human in the loop that sends it to the cloud.
Yeah, I still kind of want to be the one driving this entire concoction of things. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's something that most of us are still kind of aching to, is when we develop stuff or we are trying to make something better, we kind of want to be on top of what's going on. Because if we are not, then just make me an app that makes $1 million should be, no, that should be enough when you think about it. But I don't think that's real right now. So I want to be the one that actually teaches it how to make an app that's going to make me $1 million. So yeah, it's basically to protect yourself from prompt injection. Files, and this is again like the first step is the locality of the actual files. So next we'll touch on the actual agentic loop and the runtime. On your laptop, they're kind of locked. Agent doesn't really have access to them. And in the clouds, it's very simple. Basically, it just runs it. It's in its own little islands. So let's look at the actual tool calls, executions, and some practical example. When we want to connect Notion, I chose Notion as a simple example. It's document storage for those who don't know what Notion is. Let's say our task needs notes that live in the Notion. Now, in every app that you have, Codex, Cloud Code, whatever, you have this button like connect to Notion. There are two very different things that are happening under that one button. Both make you log in, but the difference is who runs the tool code and where the token sits. Now, what do we mean by this? If we run the MCP server, what an MCP server is, it's basically a set of API commands. I want to read Notion, which is a programmatic way of accessing a Notion API with an authorization, identifying which document in which folder to look to and what to grab from it and bring back into the context of an agent. That's the API route. MCP route, your connect Notion, it's the same thing. Instead of all of this, all you see is I'm reading Notion. The key difference is when you are driving it, you can pass on the arguments that you want. You can do whatever the hell is within the capabilities of that said API. You are fully in control. You're still connecting to the Notion in the same manner, but you are in charge of the tooling. You can define what does it mean to read? What does it mean to access my document? Is it read-only? Is it read and write? Can it do whatever it wants? Can it like re-timestamp when the document was created? It's up to you. If you are using a remote MCP server where the provider runs these tools, all you send is one request. I want to read my Notion. Maybe it asks like, okay, from which account? If you have connected multiple. There might be some continuation to this topic, but everything flows through the MCP, through Model Context Protocol server that is hosted somewhere else. So two things can happen when you are connecting Notion. One executes on your machine and just grabs the data. The second one executes in the cloud. I'm not saying inherently that it's malicious. And I would even argue that if there is an official MCP that a company that you are working with, be it Notion, Google, Attio, Clay, whatever is within your tool set that you're currently using, if they have official MCP, let them handle it. Because it's usually simpler and more secure way. This starts to matter very much if you are grabbing MCPs from GitHub, like a random MCP. Scrape LinkedIn. There might be an MCP, there is definitely hundreds of MCPs for this. But how secure are they? What are you actually running on your machine when you download this code? This is something that is often overlooked, and people just go on GitHub and on these MCP lists and start grabbing things left and right because, oh, I need that, I might need that. But in reality, you're allowing something to run on your machine because you are downloading the entire repo with the MCP and you're running it on your own machine. So be careful about that. Either way, doesn't matter how you do it, it's the same trap because the connector inherits your access. Anything that can happen that you can open in Notion, the agent will be able to open. Simple way of how to sandbox this: every single provider that provides an MCP gives you the ability to actually scope it down to specific files, specific folders, specific access levels. Use it and utilize it. Definitely always start from read-only perspective, because it's very easy for an agent to actually screw up your whatever it is that you're connecting it to, because it won't understand the schema of what's going on right away. Sometimes it takes some time, and it's very beneficial if you are utilizing MCPs to do two things. Comes from experience. Every single harness on the market right now has something called lazy loading of MCP tools. So it doesn't matter what you're running, if it's remote, local, it always exposes like, oh, you can use these 5 tools. But every tool comes with a massive explanation of what it actually is and what it does. If you connect 817 MCPs, your context will be enough for one message. You say hello and you're run into compaction. That's it, done. So what they started to utilize is to lazy load. To basically say, bless you, to basically say, you have Notion. Yeah. But only load it, the tools, if user asks about Notion. And secondly, you can even skip that step and load only the specific tools you need if you utilize skills. So you create a Notion MCP skill that will say, okay, these are the tools that you can use. This is the header. If you need to use Notion, before you lazy load, read the skill, and then call only the thing that you
that
need.
just being with Higgs, like most services, they provide these skills that actually tell your agent when they hear certain words, they went to which skill.
Yeah. I mean, skills are fun because it's effectively regex. It's just it loads a bunch of words into the context, and if it matches with any of them, it expands it by the content of the skill.
You have to be careful. Like for example, like this week I played around a little with Higgs fields for the first time, and then when you change your mind later, maybe because it's too expensive, then you go to another solution, but you still have that skill on. And then you run some command, and that skill reads create an image, and then you automatically picks Higgs because that skill is still installed.
Yes.
So you have to clean up after.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a skill hygiene is something that everybody should perform at least once a week. You will realize that agents create their own skills, which is actually beneficial, because if you have something that is repeating over time, it is better to wrap it in a skill. Like, you can't use sudo. Like, you don't have those privileges. So it usually needs to remember that, and this is maybe a bad example because that's something that would go into Agents MD or Claude MD, but something that you do every day, for example, Notion. So Notion can very much be a skill. So it knows how to construct the pages. It knows how to actually pass on the schema, so it materializes into something usable in Notion for you.
I have a question though, because sometimes it will use the skills, but when I ask it, for example, permission, it says I cannot do something without asking you for permission.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, on occasion, it does it anyways. And so it's, the AI, I asked the AI to explain to me, and it says this is suggestive rules, not enforced. So you have to create a hook if you want them not to do it.
Exactly. Everything that is in skills is basically just context injection. It is by no means a hard boundary. If you tell your agent through skills, do something, it will likely do it. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to do it. If you want to guarantee something, that's a conversation from last week, you have this agentic loop, and before the tool call, there are hooks that you can utilize. Oh, if this is supposed to happen, elevate it into a permission, period. Funny enough, it also works if you're running on dangerously skip permissions. hook system can actually stop the agent, even though it normally has a permission to do something. You can specify one or two things in the hook and actually trigger it when it's supposed to do RMRF or something similar. It will stop the agent and ask you for a permission.
So if I want to test some MCP server that I found online safely, can I test it on my VPS and create
Yes,
a Docker?
absolutely. Docker, sandbox, run it in that session. Do not, and especially if I recall correctly, like you're not highly technical, so definitely always do this remotely outside of your file system, outside of everything. Try to contain it as much as you can. Run it, see if it works. If it works, run a security scan on it. Again, like we have some security skills, get some skills, run that, see if it works for you, and only then move it into your stack. Because this is quite a popular attack vector. Like exfiltrating from these, quite popular, unfortunately. Long-running tasks. So, okay, let's say we want to run a scan on certain topics online, and we want it to trigger like every 5 minutes. I don't know about you, but I kind of want to close down the lid of my laptop every now and then. So, should we run it locally or on the cloud? 100% on the cloud. This is where the split starts making sense. Local things are things that you want to work on your computer, fast, responsive, very quick. Remote, primarily for sandboxing, isolation, and long-running tasks. You definitely don't want to have long-running tasks on your laptop because it beats the purpose of having a mobile piece of technology. Placement decides persistence. Cloud agents don't die. A durable cloud workspace lets you compute, pause, resume, or get replaced while the file system survives. A 3-hour job doesn't need to rebuild its context on every idle. Pretty much every single utilization of this already exists. And very good examples, for Claude you have managed agents. For Cursor you have cloud agents. What cloud agents do, you run them in your repo. But how do you run them in your repo? Like, repo is something in GitHub. Like, it's just static files that you uploaded somewhere. It downloads the repo on the Cursor's dime. It spins up a container on their servers, places an agent there, downloads your code, and continues or initiates the loop. So the agent starts milling and drilling your code base, your project, whatever you need to do online. You have observability of what's going on, but it doesn't mean that it runs on your computer. It very much runs remotely. Benefits of that, you can close the computer down, it just continues doing its own thing. It's not dependent on the actual transport protocol. So it doesn't matter. Like, you can shut it down, resume it on your phone, and in my opinion, that's the most convenient way of how to work with agents. Local has its uses, but cloud is 100% where it should be.
And technically, you should be able to give it as much access as you can to that instance.
Yes.
So we do the most.
Yes.
And then make sure that you realize that this is an instance that it can change stuff. So
yes, it's pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a backup if you can. You know,
Well,
snapshot.
nah, not even that.
If you
Like,
destroy something that's useful.
I would have a secondary repo. So the way that I would, for example, set it up with GitHub, I would have a repo, and you're supposed to work on this repo. You have full access. You can commit, push, pull, do whatever you want. But I have the same thing committed twice. So every snapshot, every checkpoint, every commit.
I was referring to the VPS.
Yeah, but even then, like secondary repo, because it can very much delete your repo and screw up cloud instance. So that's another layer of doing this shit. Okay, hosted service versus your own harness on a VPS. That's for small businesses. It's very, very much on the money. What should I do if I want these things to run 24/7? Again, like, it stems from how technical are you. If you're technical and you're already juggling a couple of servers and services, spinning up your own VPS, creating a specific environment, sandboxing, running all of this on your own, absolutely not a problem. If you want to have agentic loops, things like Cloud Code, Codex CLI, they can very much achieve that. Just tmux, so it can spawn multiple sessions on its own, and you absolutely have no problem. If you are less technical, there are solutions on the market that pretty much achieve the same thing, but you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. They do, however, come with a cost, and that's the usual trade-off. You can spin up your own VPS, and just to give you sort of a comparison, the median solution for hosted service when it comes to VPS, agents in the cloud, etc., you have to have a subscription, and it's gonna run you from 20 to 50 bucks. Or you pay for the API cost plus 20 to 50 bucks.
A month.
A month, yes. If you can self-host, you can get a Hetzner VPS for like $7. And you just manage everything on your own.
How much?
$7, $5. It's super, super, super cheap. Also, like, you can have a secondary machine at your home, like a mini PC or something, old laptop, and kind of make that a server. It's definitely not recommended for production, but for something like, oh, I need this thing to run like 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, absolutely not a
We
problem.
used it for my but I think it's a little bit more, 13 euros or something.
Yeah, like I said, median, 20 to 50, depends on the service. There are a couple of services that allow you to pretty much deploy everything.
Hetzner's the best deal.
This is probably the best deal on the market, especially if you're going for cloud services. Oh, that bumps me into console. So it starts from like €6 a month. You'll probably get like 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM, 40 gigs of hard drive, and it costs you less than €1 per hour. So this is one of the easiest ways of how to actually get up and running with cloud agents. And in terms of managed services, I think the pricing here starts at like $20 a month for starter, $50 if you are on a pro plan. Now this is the thing, it's hosted by N8N, so it spins up an instance of N8N. You bring your own keys, you bring your own agents, and you just let them handle the infrastructure cost. Very good thing that I want to plug in because it's a cool open source project. It's called Coolify. They do have a cloud service. It costs like $5 a month. And you can self-host it with absolutely no problems on your own. Think of Coolify as of your own personal Vercel or own personal Netlify. It allows you to spin up containers, websites, do whatever the hell you want. There is a pretty cool UI that you can use.
It's
And
like the GDPR version of Vercel if you don't want to use US companies.
technically speaking, yes, but also it's not primarily focused on GDPR. It's more along the lines of Vercel can spike. Netlify can spike. Like the moments, it's all cool and dandy and for free, if your website has 500 visitors per month, now try scaling that up. Like scale the actual requests for image optimizations to more than 5,000 images a month. I tried to place a website on Vercel that was primarily centered around mood boards. So it was all images that you could like and create collections. I forgot to do image optimization. Thank God that there was a hard stop, because through the testing stage, I hit the cap. I hit the limit. And then the images stopped appearing. And I was like, oh, where's my bug? There's no bug. But they were doing certain things, certain optimizations on your behalf. With Coolify, I mean, no, you're in charge of that. So the hosted thing just gives you the software on the clouds. That's it.
So this is like a CI/CD network.
Pretty much. But yeah, you can use it to spin up containers, get some external services. It's actually quite convenient. And especially if you're a small business, it's sort of a one-stop shop for many of the productivity apps, many of the small business apps. Everything is open source, so you can spin up an app absolutely easily. It provides you with a domain, and you start using a better calendar, better mailing lists, and I don't know, CRM, whatever you might need. It pretty much replaces every single SaaS on the market. So yeah, this is when you want to let your agents run without your oversight, and when your lid is shut.
One quick question to me. I think I just remembered about the MCP, because I just saw a video today from someone who used an MCP to connect N8N to Cloud Core.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you heard about this specific one, but he said it's quite popular. You find direct on GitHub. I'm not sure if you know about it.
I honestly don't. I don't use N8N anymore, but in general there will be, because you have to think about it again. Circling back to the first or second point, or whichever it was, is the tools. So you have API. Think about it as of an octopus, like it has many tentacles, and it's about the handshake. How do I get these 3 tentacles into one handshake? So if he makes an MCP that has a better handshake than the official one, it's going to be more popular, because the agent will use less context and will be more deterministic in the ways of actually working with the software it's connecting to. But yeah, again, same thing. Like, it's popular, that's all cool and fine. You don't know if there's some worm inside. So
even if they have like 50,000 stars on GitHub, you should still self-test them.
I would say yes. I would say pretty much run everything first time in the sandbox. Do not trust GitHub at all. With the supply chain attacks and everything else that's going on, it's just not safe anymore. It used to be a case where popular projects would be like, okay, this is a badge of trust. Like, people are using it, it has a lot of stars, it is somewhat secure because there is a massive community upkeeping it. But all it takes is like one package, one stray thing to be included in dependencies. And the horror stories that I've listened to of people socially engineering their way into Linux kernel for 3 years. So they kept the relationship with a maintainer of like a compression protocol that is included in every kernel. And then, because it's open source and he's doing it for free, it's okay, I can overtake it, no problem. And just sneak in a little bit of code there. Makes it into the prods. Done. Whole instance is pawned. Whole server rooms pawned. So that can very much happen to you. And I think it was 3 days ago, a report came that bot traffic has officially overtaken human traffic on the internet. So there are more of them than there are us, and that's kind of getting scary. But keep that in mind when you interact with things online, especially from the coding perspective. It very, very, very well might be a bot that you're talking to, a bot that published a repo, a bot that has pressed the actual star. So, which one do you want to pick? And what is your day-to-day? If you are working with images, with files on your system, editing videos, things that physically need to be on your computer, try to look into MCPs that you can run on your own, that plug into your own apps, that utilize computer use, which has recently matured enough that both Claude and Codex can actually utilize it pretty well, and run your local agent. So utilize anything that can actually hook and attach into those files. Because if you do it remotely, it's going to be clunky. If you have sensitive data and need an audit trail, definitely a self-hosted sandbox, your own VPS, and if you have capacity for that, even your own model. It's a topic that we can go very much in depth on. But if you don't want to give your data away, or you can't give your data away because you're a medical institution, lawyer, you're doing taxes for people, or some other sensitive information passes your hands, it's even questionable to use the providers on the market if you are not using them in a guaranteed secure way. Because at that point, if they screw up, you can sue them. So you're kind of protected. But if you're just running a Claude Max subscription and you're doing accounting, I wouldn't do that. So if you need your agent to run while you sleep, definitely look into managed agents. It's something that it's not going to be a good time if you are using your own computer. Managed agents, loops, and at every stop, just let it re-trigger. Find some new work, do something else. Let it utilize the entirety of your subscription. If you construct the agent loop well, run it in the clouds, close the laptop, and the only thing you should be focusing on is what app gives you telemetry. What app actually lets you see what's going on and interact with an agent without anything running on your own machine. And if you want to wire up cheap SaaS automations, you can self-host N8N on a VPS. It's still the best, or one of the best gateways for visualizing what's going on in your agentic loop. It's connecting to what, it's grabbing what information, what is the next step. It's very visual, and therefore it's very easy to adopt. You can pretty much do the same thing utilizing Claude's workflows or just a simple agentic loop through Codex App Server, but N8N kind of won this race, and it's starting to become relevant once again, just because people are moving from local to managed and hosted agents en masse. Local, unless it's your own model, is not private. That's the key takeaway that you should take from this presentation, because your data always leaves your computer. With the scope of whatever you've written into a conversation, you are committing that to Anthropic, to OpenAI, and they very much said so. They are reading your conversations. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like FBI, so they're reading all of the messages, but treat it as such. Treat it as every single message that you're posting, someone else is reading. And it's not just the AI as a counterparty. Difference between local and cloud is the reach. What can agent actually grab? Is it only something that is contained, or is it everything in your system? That's pretty much the main difference between the two. And every connector is as powerful as your login, unless you have a scope down mechanism. A very good example for this that I kind of sort of want to plug, even though they did get hacked, and it's not particularly like super duper safe as far as I know. Yeah, they got hacked.
I remember you mentioned this to us like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they got pawned hard actually.
So I'm not very good at
It was actually something, they were caching something, and some access token to the repo was cached, and someone was able to access that cache. So the keys were hidden, but they were in the interim memory because they needed to handle massive traffic, and they got pawned. And a lot of people actually got their account stolen, information stolen, etc. So, yeah. Effectively, what Composio is, it's the Zapier of the agentic era. For those who remember Zapier, you basically took software A, software B, and you created this Zap. And Zap was basically a structured API call. It was maybe multiple calls in one thing that you then named a tool. And that was what we used back in the day. Now the same thing, Composio directly to agents, utilizing singular MCP that acts as a router for all of the things that you have connected in your account.
Was this Viper?
Most likely, to be honest.
Is that kind of security?
Yes, most likely.
How long ago is that?
Probably 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And
Quite
you-
recent.
I installed it after you recommended Open Design because they asked me to connect. I think I needed it for connecting some tools with Open Design.
Open Design is actually quite safe because Open Design in general, the daemon, hooks into your Cloud Code or your codecs, and what it does is it executes a very structured agentic loop. So think of Open Design as of a form. So a structured form starts like, what is your project going to be named? What are the colors that you want? What are the design systems that you want to implement? And this is essentially what Open Design is. It has a lot of references that it can draw from, and it enriches your prompt in a way that allows your actual agent, which is Codex or Claude, to execute on it. It doesn't do anything on its own. And that's all there is to it. It's just wrapped in a daemon, and that daemon has the extrapolation of a desktop app. So that one is actually quite safe, unless you are doing plugins, because they have plugins, and they have a lot of them, and I don't think they're vetting them.
I think I connected it to my Figma account, which maybe I should check that.
Could be safe. I don't know. I don't want to vouch for that, to be honest. But yeah, I'm using it vanilla, and it works fine for me. Like no plugins, no nothing. In general, for Figma, I wouldn't even use Open Design.
I think I was just playing around after you
Oh,
recommended
yeah.
and then I stopped.
Yeah.
I heard that Cloud Design will update this now, but I'm not sure.
It will continue to get updated, and it will continue to get better, but so will Open Design. Because there is like a ton of contributors. And even I'm doing like some things that I'm going to contribute to Open Design again that are cool, and they should make the average day-to-day with it a little bit easier. But yeah, Composio, it's something that you connect to it, and it auths against Notion, Google, whatever you want, and you do the permissions per API key in Composio. So, yeah.
What is the difference between Root and Composio?
Between what?
Root, R-U-B.
Root.
It's basically, I think it's the MCP by Composio. No, B.
RUB?
R-U-B.
RUBE?
Yeah.
Root MCP.
I'm not sure. Because I discovered Composio
By this. Oh, okay. I think it's just their MCP. I don't know.
There is
I haven't implemented the
This was published like 10 months ago.
yeah. I use this
Root.app.
6-7
Can't find the server. It might be the previous iteration of Composio. It might be the thing that started it, and then they changed the name to Composio and just continue with it.
It was made by
Well, yeah. So maybe they just collapsed into one brand. Who knows? In general, the way that I interact with it, I just use the SDK. Just plug in the API key and let Composio broadcast the tools into the agent through lazy load. And like, I'm still like 50-50 on if I'm going to use it or not. The sneaky thing that I actually want to do is, because they have a very good grasp on tools, you can take Composio as your base and then do Nango.
Martin, what do you mean as your base?
So you can use Composio to basically establish how many tools are available for a certain provider, because you don't really get that out of the box. Just because I can connect to you, I don't know what are the maximum capabilities, your Swagger. Like, it's not always so obvious. So what Composio did is they went to that API and they actually gotten the entire plethora of things that are doable and started wrapping them into tools like Gmail list, latest emails by date, or something similar. Now you can, because you don't have that out of the box with a lot of providers, you take what they have, because you have 20,000 requests and tool uses for free every month in Composio, and you just start constructing the same thing using Nango and active pieces.
Have you heard of Rapid API? Like a massive,
I'm actually personally using this because it allows you to create an OAuth app for pretty much everything on the market, and it's pretty powerful. In my personal opinion, like, a lot of people are actually using it. A lot of teams that are utilizing Nango, and yeah, this one is legit. So this is the one that I personally use in my projects whenever I need to do an OAuth between my app and something else. Composio is the lazy, easy way to do it. Just slap in the API key, let them handle it. But once you start reconstructing the slice that you need for your specific app, this is something that you can absolutely use for free, and it's pretty convenient once you know specifically what to do. So yeah.
Nango is a OAuth provider,
Yeah.
like a router service.
Yeah.
But if you look at, just for reference, RapidAPI.com, they have almost every API that
Again,
exists.
having the API doesn't mean
Having
that.
documentation.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you have all of the tools that you need to construct. That is the split that I actually came to last month, where I could have, I've gotten like the massive repository of documentation and API, but I would need to reconstruct the tools myself. So the lazy option was to just use Composio for the time being, and then slowly start rolling the most popular things into my own thing through Nango. So I recommend that because it just allows you to iterate and develop faster. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's all I was doing last week. splitting things between local and cloud agents is literally what my sprints have been for the past 7 days. The key takeaway is that it very much depends on where the agentic loop lives. Where is your session stored? So your JSON that actually has the messages that are cached, how you move them from place to place. And once you authorize a connector, let's say on local, it doesn't necessarily translate into remote. So if I have a local app that's running my local agent on my machine, and I authorize it and auth with, let's say, Notion MCP, and then I shut the lid, however magically or automagically I want to make it happen so that session moves to the cloud, I still need to auth that particular plugin for the remote data. So things like this were on my pretty much day-to-day last week, and that made me kind of want to dig a little bit deeper into local versus cloud. There are very few successful examples of a hybrid split. So primarily what you're looking for is, I don't know if the current build actually is good, but let's see. Exit. Full screen. So the best split would be something like this, where you have an app in which you can connect an agent that's running in the cloud or remotely, and then you have something that can run locally. If you really want to have something that works both ways. And the approach that I've chosen, and that's been agreed upon in the Kyber agent team, was to basically have local agents running through local file system, local everything. And the orchestrator is the one that assigns the individual tasks and sessions either to a local agent or to a remote one. That becomes more problematic, and like the layers of governance, who can use which agent with which set of auths and session tokens in an organization where, let's say, you have a sales agent that you want to distribute to 15 people that kind of needs to run remotely, but should also have a bridge to local file system, plus have a separation per time. It's a whole different topic and layer of complexity, but a clean way, again, of doing that, especially if you're a developer, create a simple wrapper app utilizing Agents SDK, which is still available, Codex App Server, route the individual sessions in a way that allows you to flip the provider mid-session. So store the actual session above the individual provider harnesses. The only downside is that you miss the cache if you are switching from provider to provider. But in my opinion, that's not going to happen that often, and it's a very small price to pay for the flexibility of having the option of taking the entire conversation and with a toggle of a button, moving it to a different provider. So a wrapper like this, utilizing things that are on the market, and then you can go wild with your different views of observability, and if you want to scope it by project, by agent, or anything else. So these are the cool things that are available. Again, once you understand and know how to construct the agentic loop. If you haven't been here last week or didn't see it, it's available on the YouTube live stream from previous week. And second decision, when you know which agent to run locally, which agent to run remotely, assign them tasks that are suitable for their jobs, you're one more step towards being super dangerous with AI. All right, I think that's pretty much it from me for this week. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, let's have a breakout discussion. Here are some of the questions that might be a little bit suggestive, so we can get the conversation